Rightness versus righteousness. Rightness is referring to being right, correct and beyond reproach, correctness or accuracy of perception, and in accordance with observable fact. Righteousness, on the other hand, the protestation, insistence and compulsion of being right, holding on to the attestation of rightness regardless of evidence to the contrary. It's a denial of fault or culpability. It's assuming the moral high ground with a holier-than-thou attitude, elitism, superiority, and inability to shift from a fixed position of judgment. Society's perspective of these two issues tends to be somewhat disarrayed, often confuse one with the other. Here we shall have a look at separating them out so a more accurate perception can be arrived at. Rightness. This one is simply dealt with. It has to do with accuracy of perception and the ability to correctly recognise either that which is there or that which is yet to come about. One of its more esoteric forms includes the ability to accurately predict future events. It has to do with the spiritual issues of recognitive ability and knowingness. Now, righteousness. This is the one that causes all the trouble, deserving of more enlightened scrutiny. It's a particularly negative aspect of the human condition, inaccurately justified under the heading of rightness to sanitize and validate its existence. Thus the two become confused, and much distress and takeouts experienced from inability to recognize the one and separate out from the other. Insistence on and protestation of being right is possibly the most negative aspect of the human condition. It is a predilection infusing mankind at a deeply compulsive level, infecting everyone from saint to sinner and prince to peasant, the consequences of which are extremely negative at every level from self through to nations. Wars have been fought over it, murders motivated, nations fallen, and civilizations passed away, all due to the compulsion of people to protest their infallible rightness, but coming from the compulsive position of righteousness that tends to be its inevitable companion. It lies behind the repeating activities of both the criminal and the vengeful justice system that seeks to control him. It lies at the heart of both sides in every religious war and family vendetta, causes disconnection, collapses communication, causes distress and pain, renders disputes insoluble, and brings to naught all the best intentions of negotiation and appeasement. It sits firmly at the base of religious, political, and racial prejudice, management and union organised labour, keeps families apart, and is the fertiliser from which grows the unhealthy and irremediable weeds of division and separation. It lives at the heart of every cult, religion, political movement, and individual who seeks to establish a position of infallibility and moral superiority. It is possible that it is the single major cause of the human-generated troubles of the world, from which grows many other evils often misidentified as being the faulty factors. If the devil ever had the intention of driving and keeping mankind apart, he could not have developed a better strategy than this, to have mankind convinced of the sanctity of his own righteousness. At the personal level, who has not experienced the outrage of having been accused of wrongness, or felt the automatic flair to defend oneself in the face of accusation? The urge is compulsive, to the degree that a loving relationship will willingly be jeopardized, a lifetime friendship be sacrificed, one's children disenfranchised, or the most unbelievable lies told, rather than admit for a moment that wrongness may be a factor in our thoughts or behaviours. We must be right, regardless of evidence to the contrary. People kill in order to be right, and criminals behind bars, even though telling you how wrong they've been, don't really believe deep within that they are at fault. Their penitence or consciousnesses are often little more than ploys shop-fronted to escape further disapprovals. They know full well their activities were completely justified, as seen from their viewpoint, with the fault probably lying elsewhere. Unfortunately, the judicial system's coming from the same paradigm, and so we have two immovable viewpoints in opposition, each vying for dominance. And so we have religious intolerance, and international friction, and diminution or destruction of those around us, or by holding fast to the sacred, personal, erroneous, and fiercely protected interests of being forever right. People have a predilection for making others wrong, coming from their own misguided sense of righteousness. We and everyone else in the world is frequently wrong, and there's no great problem in the calm recognition and acceptance of this fact. From this acceptance grows ability to modify, change, and improve. It is only when we enter righteousness into the scene that the trouble begins, as we protest our rightness, thereby making our wrongnesses okay and fully justified in their continuance. From here, there is no way out, as the wrongness now is sanitized and validated, ensuring its continuance. You have the message. I could go on and on giving examples, submerging you in heaps of filler copy, but there's little point. The message is simple. Recognition needs to be discovered for yourself if it is ever to amount to anything other than just another person's funny viewpoint. Time now for inspection, either on your own or preferably in company of others. Look to yourself or the lives of others for examples. Lay your have to be right aside. Be prepared to acknowledge your ability to actually be right in the fullest and most honest sense of the word, and come to your own conclusions.